Hey, welcome back. This is video number 2 in painting in Blender, and what I'm going to try to show you on this one. I'm sorry the first one was so long. I just wanted to get everything across that I thought was necessary in that first video to get you somewhat comfortable with going into Blender and understanding the differences between doing things in 2D and 3D. There are some things that are easier to do in 2D, and there are some things that are much easier to do in Blender. And I've done both, and I'm just getting to the point where I prefer doing things in Blender. And the more I learn about Blender, and by no means an expert, but I can fumble around and do pretty good. Anyway, I'm in Blender right now. I've got the welcome screen up. You can see I've been messing with different stuff here because where it says recent files, it tells you at least the last couple of things that I've worked on. Anyway, I'm going to show you two different ways that a couple different ways to bring a model into Blender to work on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on the screen that gets rid of the introduction window. I don't want any 3D objects in this viewport, or what's called 3D space, because if it is there, it will mesh with anything I bring into it, which is going to be my airplane. So they have an airplane sitting there with a big old block or cube over the top of it. There's a light here you can barely see. There's the 3D object, and then there's the camera. We're not going to be doing any rendering, and I don't really need the light in this space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click, hold down the mouse button, and I'm going to go across all three items, and then I'm just going to hit the delete key. That gets rid of it all. Now I should have an empty 3D space, nothing anywhere. Sometimes you can download something that's got an elaborate camera set up on it, and you won't see these plates that are way off in the distance that somebody's set up to add a certain kind of light to it. So you really got to check that. Anyways, I assume you have the import-export porter for Microsoft Flight Simulator installed. And in order to bring an aircraft in, we've got to locate one, and we've got to get the model files. I'm going to use an aircraft that is common to Flight Simulator that everybody should have and doesn't have to go out and buy it, and that's the X-Cub. And that's the standard X-Cub, and that's located in the official folder inside Microsoft Flight Simulator, wherever that's stored on your computer. So basically we've got everything cleared out. I'm going to go up here to where it says File, then I'm going to go down to the Import, and I'm going to go all the way down where it says Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now you know what I should do before I do that? I'm going to go to Edit, Preference. I'm going to go down here to the exporter right here, and I'm going to close it. I'm basically clearing it out to make sure I haven't got anything set up in here, and then I'm going to click it back on. And if I turn this arrow down, you'll see there's some 3 entry slots here, and I want to make sure that those are empty and cleared out. And then I'm going to close it. I'll close out of here, and I'll go back to the file, go down to the import, and I'm on my D drive, and here's MSFS right here, and I want the official folder and the one store, and then I need to locate my airplane. Now I want the X-Cub, so I'm going to go up here to where that little magnifying glass is, and I'm going to type in X-Cub. You probably don't have to type it all the way out, just an X, and there it is, right in the middle. I can click on that, or double click it, go to Sim Objects, into Airplanes, and then there's 3 variants here, the X-Cub, the Floats, and the Skis. I want the X-Cub, just by itself. So I'm going to click on the X-Cub, and I'm going to go into where it says Model. And you see all these load files. Well, they have to do with how far away you see the aircraft and how it's generated in Flight Simulator in 3D space in the game. And the lowest number is going to give you the best detail. So I want 00, load 00. So this says interior, And I assume, and it is, that doesn't say anything here, it's the fuselage. So I'm just going to click on that and go down here and hit this import export. I don't think it matters if you double click on the file or if you come down here and hit it. And in a second or so here, I'm going to have an aircraft pop up. Now it popped up real quick because I don't have, it didn't bring in any texture files with it. It just brought in the model. At this point, you got a bunch of junk around it. Now I've covered this in other videos about setting up a template, and if you're just bringing in an aircraft and you want to mess with it, you need to get rid of this stuff. Now that's one way of bringing in an aircraft. The problem with this is it's not brought in any texture files. So if you go over here to texture paint, there's a blank UV map over here, and it's all kind of garbled up, and I'm not going to get into too much detail here. If you want to go mess with it, you can. But if you want to come in here and you want to assign each item a texture, you have to click on that item. Let's say I click on the, come on. See, it's showing me missing texture files. There's nothing detected. I'll go back here to layout, and let's see if I can get the wing. That's the frost. I'm just going to grab the wing, and we'll go back here to texture paint, and I've got to hold the wing and the fuselage. Now there's nothing here. I would have to go over here to each one, the fuselage, wings, the details and stuff, and I would have to assign it a material. No textures. I'd hit that plus button. I'd go to base material. I would go down here and assign it a resolution. When they talk about 2K, 4K, and 8K, that's the resolution plate and how large it is that you're working on. It's set at 1024 by default. I'm going to take it up. I like to work in 4096, which is 4K. Some aircraft don't need it, especially like the Savage Cub and things like that. They're really small. They don't have a lot of detail. If you're doing some really finite decals, really finite texturing and stuff on it, then maybe. Even this X Cub doesn't really need the 4096. It's just, it's easier to work big, and then you can shrink it down and it looks better. Again, you need to make sure that these two numbers match. And I almost messed that up. 4096. Okay. Those two match. I want white. I'm going to go all the way up and make it a pure white. And then I'm going to go down here and select the OK. Now, you don't have to have that alpha. It's not going to hurt nothing. I'm just going to leave it alone and select OK. Now, that gave me a white base. And it gave me a white base for my fuselage base color. Since everything is linked together, I don't think... Yeah, I would have to switch out everything and check to see if the wings caught it or not. But I could go up here to this little double circle thing here and click on it and get rid of the texture UVs. And now I just have a blank white canvas that I could paint on. And I would have to select on different items in here and paint on them. Right now, all this is grouped. And it's very difficult to paint on that. I'm not even going to mess with this because I've had so much hassle in going in and working with models in this format that I just don't care to do it. It's kind of a pain in the butt. You got to go in and get rid of a lot of things. You got to go in and assign textures to everything, and I don't particularly care to do that. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm just going to start from fresh. Don't save anything. Boom. Now, if you open Blender back up, and I'm going to go out here on, I'm not going to do this because I've already got it set up. I'm just going to show it to you. You know what? I better do it. I've covered it in other videos, but let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to do new folder. I'm going to go into that new folder, and I'm going to set up another folder and call it blend files. Blend, come on. Blend files. Okay. Then I already have a file that I need to be in here. It's called text converter. I'm going to put it in here. copy. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up another file folder, and I'm going to call it UVs. Alright, those are the minimum 3 folders that you'll need in here. Let's call this, oh, come on. Let's just call this Xcub Play. I just need to give it a name that's different than what I got on my desktop already. Okay, there's our folder. Now, you just click on the screen. You don't have to get rid of all this stuff. Just go up here to where it says File. I'm sorry, Edit. Go down to Preferences. And in Preferences, you're going to go down to your tool. You're going to open the tool up. And if this is your first time, you're going to have to read this, and you're going to have to download this text tool. I already put that text tool in my folder because I've already downloaded. If you go down here to where it says Download Text Conversion Exec, download that, put it on your desk, put it in a folder, put it in your user folder somewhere where you know where it's at. It's going to be safe and always be there. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to tell Blender where that file's at. So if you click on this little file folder and open it up, I'm going to go to my desktop, go down here to where I got Xcub Play. That's our folder. There's our text converter right here. I'm going to click on it, accept. Now I need to tell it where I want it to put all those files. That what it's going to do is it's going to go into the same aircraft file, and it's going to grab all the texture files that it needs to populate that model with color or decals or whatever, and it's going to convert those from the standard Flight Sim DDS format into a PNG that any 2D program or in this case Blender 3D program will see. So I'm going to open this folder up, and I'm going to go to my desktop again, down to the Xcub Play, click on the UVs folder, and accept. Now it knows where to put all those UVs. Now, it needs a path where to find all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click open this file, and I need to go into where that aircraft is at. In this case, it's MSFS. It's under Official, One Store. I need to find it, so I'm just going to go up here and type in Xcub. And there's Xcub. I'll click on that. Sim Objects, Airplanes. Now, this is the root folder where everything's at. And that's what I want. I don't want to go any further. I'm going to accept this. So now I have my 3 folders set up where it needs to find its stuff. I can X out of this. I'll go up to File. I'm going to go down to where it says Import. I'll go down to the tool itself. Click on that. Again, I need to go back to that file, main file in Flight Simulator. Official, One Store. Again, I'll just type in Xcub and click on the Xcub. Sim Objects, Airplanes. Now this time I'm going to go all the way in to the model, and I'm going to click on the model file again, and this time it's going to take a little bit longer. And you know what? I forgot to get rid of my cube. So now you'll see what happens when you don't get rid of the stuff off your desktop. See how it binds with that cube? Okay, I'm going to do I'm going to edit and do an undo. I'm going to grab all that stuff, and let's go back and do it again. Import, boom, and should be the same. I might have messed myself up again. Nope, there it is. Okay, now we're up. I'm going to grab my Blender, move it down, and I want to go take a look inside this folder, and I will look in my UVs. And sure enough, there's all my textures, all the files that is contained in that Xcub that's needed to populate this model with color and textures is there, done for me, converted and everything. I don't have to do anything. Turn that off. I'm going to go back to Blender, and I'm going to do one more check to see if I've got textures. If I go up to this third globe over where it says viewport shading and click on it, it's going to take a second, but all the textures have populated that aircraft. Everything I need is there. I don't have to go in and set a texture up for everything. See how easy that is? Now, what I need to do here now is I need to set it up so that I can work on it. So I don't need all this stuff that's showing up here in this orange color. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of the stuff that I don't have to delete, and just turning things off. Up here on your upper right hand corner, there are a set of drop downs. The first one is object types visibility. That's these widgets over here. If you don't want these widgets up on the screen, you can turn them off. The next one is viewport. I'm sorry. The first one is different types, things that is going to be visible and not visible, like in these drop-down menus. The other one is the gizmos, and that are these here. And then the third one over here is going to be all these other extras that you see. I don't need the floor. Boom, gone. I'm not modeling, so I can get rid of the X and Y, Z axes. In this particular window, I don't need the 3D cursor. I will have it on when it is in the paint window. That's where I like to use it. I don't need the annotations. I don't need these bones. The bones are these triangular looking things here with the balls on the end of them. That's for building the 3D objects and how they articulate and stuff. I don't need that. So I'm going to get rid of the bones. I don't need motion paths. I'm not messing with animation or anything. I don't need to know where the origins are. Relationship lines, I don't need those. And the extras are all these fuzzy lines you see. There are crosshairs in there, and there is center of the object, and it aids in positioning the 3D object. I don't need those either, so they're gone. So, if I click off onto the screen, I pretty much have just the model with all the goodies gone that I don't need on there. Now I need to start getting rid of stuff that I'm not going to be painting on. And one of the biggies, if I click on the fuselage, you see this ripple line across here and also back here. That's the frost areas. You can see your information up here. It says fuselage frost. I'm going to just simply delete that. I'm not going to paint frost. I have no interest in it. But it's in other places too. On the top of the horizontal stabilizer, there's one. I'll get rid of that. Very tip of the rudder, there's one. I'll get rid of that. The nose cones, there's a frost 1, there's a frost 2, and there's a frost 3. I'll get rid of all 3 of those. They have to do with blur and stationary and stuff like that. These tires have a motion blur on them. I don't need to paint the motion blur, either one of them. I'm just going to make sure that's gone. Your struts are going to have a frost layer on them most of the time. I'm going to get rid of that frost layer on the struts. The wing struts, wing braces here, they are part of this whole thing that's grouped together. And when we got rid of the frost layer, I believe we got rid of that as well. So I'm not going to be painting this prop art, so I'm going to get rid of that. There's 2 of them. There's a fast and a slow, I think. And then right here is what they call like a prop edge. That gives you a little bit of blur in there to indicate a prop when it's running. I'm going to get rid of that. There might be frost on the prop, so click on each. Yep, get rid of the frost there. Get rid of both of those. I'm pretty sure I got rid of the frost and stuff off of it. I'm not going to be painting. I'm not going to have Flight Simulator put my bureau numbers on. So you can't see it, but there's a spot here on the fuselage, on the wing, and then on the other side. I don't need those. I'm going to get rid of those. there is a few, there's a blob inside the cockpit that it has to do with a drone detection collision factor, and I don't need that, so that's gone. And I don't like to have the windshield in place either, so I get rid of the windows and windshield. I want to make sure there's not any in the door. That's just a window, and it's there's a frame that's part of that. If I delete it, you see it goes away, so I'm going to edit, undo, and bring that back. I need that frame in there if I'm going to do any painting on it. So that pretty much gives me my aircraft, except for one little thing. You see how MSFS does its livery. It's already painted on here, but it's done in a different file so that they don't have to have every aircraft painted differently. They can just do it on one file that's put on the aircraft, and that's called the fuselage livery. I'm going to delete that. It's on the fuselage. It's also on the tail back here, which includes this little piece up here. That's gone. So I'm all white, pretty much, except for the decals, and I want to leave the decals alone. Now, you'll notice the top of the wing up here has these tapes on there, and you can't see it, but those tapes are also on the fuselage. If you're going to paint a wing a different color, and you want to change these tapes to that color, and let's say you're going to leave your fuselage white, those tapes are still, if you got to either leave them white, or if you change them to the color of the wing, the strips back here on the fuselage are going to show up as the same color. So I want to get rid of those. In order to get rid of those, I need to, and paint on the wing, I need to ungroup this, because you see the fuselage and the wings are all grouped together. In order to do that, you have to go up here to where it says Object. You have to select it, go to Object Mode, this little drop down menu here, and go down to where it says Edit Mode. In the Edit Mode, don't touch anything. If you click off of it, all of a sudden nothing's selected. You just go up here to Selection and select All, and it's back selected again. I'm going to right click. I'm going to keep the mouse button down, and we'll go down here to where it says Separate, go across to the submenu and highlight it, and then I'm going to release, and I'm going to left click it. Now you see all those tapes are showing up, and all the different components and stuff around is showing up. If I go back into Object Mode, click off on the screen, and now if I click on the wing, I got just the wing. And I have just the fuselage group. Alright, so that you could paint on either one of those. In order to get rid of the tapes, and I want the tapes gone because I want to be able to paint this wing white, I'm going to grab the wing again, and I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to go to Edit Mode, and I'm going to go right click, Material, click on it, and nothing happened because I clicked off on the screen. Select, let's see, I need to go to, select All. Now I'm going to right click on Materials, then left click it. Okay, if I go back to Edit Mode, or Object Mode, I should be able to click on them. Yep. So see, now I got just the tapes, and of course all the rivets and stuff are with it. But I'm going to go ahead and delete those because I don't want them for what I'm going to be doing. I have to do the same back here on horizontal stabilizer. Again, into Object Mode, Edit, right click, Separate by Material, go back into Object Mode, go grab my tapes and delete them. The elevator, I believe I've got to do the same to elevator. Edit Mode, right click, Separate by Material, boom. Go back into Object Mode, grab those tapes and delete them. You'll have to do the same with the rudder. It's the same situation. object edit mode. Excuse me, separate by material. Go back into object mode. Grab just the tapes and delete those. So tapes are gone there. Tapes are gone up on the wing. I know this is time consuming, but it's important for setup. You have to do the same thing for all those little parts. I'm going to leave them right now. They won't hurt anything for what we're doing. But if you see on the elevator and the flaps, I'm sorry, the ailerons and the flaps, you've got these rivets and also this little spot across here, the line. You have to do the same thing with that, and I get rid of those because they mess up with the paint. They'll probably paint over and be just fine, but I don't know. I believe there's somewhere else on this fuselage that these rivets are at, that it colors them and changes the color in that location. Anyway, at this point, that is set up the way I want it. I would go into, then the only thing we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be going back and forth between the layout and the texture paint. Alright, now if I slide this over, I don't have anything selected. Go back to layout. I'm going to grab this wing, then I will go back to texture paint. Now look, I've got all these textures. That's all the stuff that was brought in for me when I brought this model in, the way I just showed you. Now you can save the template file right now. I talked about that in the other videos about how to save and what's important, not getting confused between saving the file, which is the Blender file, and saving the image, which is this textures file. If you don't save the texture file individually, all the work you did goes away. It's gone, flat gone. I don't need the stuff here in my texture paint window again, so the same situation. Only I'm going to leave the floor and the X and Y. It helps if you got small objects. I'm going to get rid of the relationship lines, the extras, the bones, the motion paths, and the origins. And I'm going to get rid of the annotations. So I will leave these three and the floor. So we're set up there. The wing's been selected. I should be able to grab my white. If I want the white that's used on the rest of the fuselage, I would need to come over to this plate, click on your white, click on the eyedropper, go over and take a sample of that white, and then come back here, and I should be able to paint the wings. Just like this. Boom. Okay, flip it upside down, do the same. Blender can hang up on you sometimes. Okay, now I haven't done anything with the stroke or the fall off. If I go up here to the fall off, this is the most important. That little staple looking thing is hard edges. I click on that. Now I'll get a nice hard edge when I'm painting across stuff. Okay, I want to make sure I get my struts. You see, when you got your struts in there, that can mess you up as well. Kind of go around and make sure you get everything. You can get close up and do this. Another way, if I go edit, undo, I'm going to go back a couple. Control Z. Alright. Let's see. Let's go Control Z. Alright. I should have just that selected. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change and go down to this selection tool, the bucket, paint bucket. Again, I'm going to make sure that I have the right white selected. I'm going to click on the wing. Boom. All those pieces are done. See how quick that was? It got everything. That's your fill bucket. And it took care of all that stuff. Now what I'd have to do is go back out to layout. I can come back into and grab my elevator or ailerons. Go into the texture paint. Click on that. Both of them are taken care of. Top and bottom and inside and all that good stuff. Back out to layout. Click on the flaps. Go back into texture paint. Click on it. Boom. They're both taken care of. Alright. How about the horizontal stabilizer? click on that, back in, click on that, boom, painted. Go back out and click on the elevator and texture paint and click on it, boom, that's all painted too. So all of our surfaces hopefully are the same color. Now there is a variation here, you can see it in the fuselage. The fuselage is a grayer, and the reason for that, if I get up real close here, use my mouse button and pull down until I get close up here to the wing edge, and that's where I took my sample from, is this wing edge right here. It's a little different than what the fuselage is. Alright? And a lot of that, some of that can be, if you notice as I'm moving around, the tones are changing due to the light, so that can mess you up too. I'm going to go back to layout. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to texture paint, and I want to click on that, see what happens. Okay, that took care of the fuselage, so now all those parts are taken care of as well. Alright. We have a problem with the door, and we forgot to get rid of one of our pieces on the door. So if I go back to layout, go around to the door, and that part right there is part of the livery template, so I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to click on the door, and I'll go back into texture paint, and now if I click on that, the door is taken care of. I might want to click on, see, layout, click on the frame itself, and I'll go back into texture paint and click on that. I got the window too, so let's go Control Z. Let's see, I'm probably got the glass. Yep, I got the glass selected. Go back to layout, look at that, and if I just get the frame, it could be, go back into texture paint, maybe some around, come on, and if I go into, okay, nope, I get all the glass. That's because I don't have the frame separated from the glass. Anyways, that shows you there that you can run into some problems. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I had a hard time messing with that before. So let's see, go back, texture paint, and Control Z. There we go, back to there. And we'll just leave it the way it is for now. Okay, give you a general idea of what you're doing. Anyway, that's how I like to bring in a model and set it up to paint on in Blender. I hope this hasn't run too long and you're too bored at it, but I'm going to head and close this out. I'm not going to save it because I already have this set up and ready to go in another setup. So I'm going to end this now, and we'll come back in the next video, and we'll try to paint this guy up. So I'm going to click off, and this will be the end of video 2. Have a good day, and just grab them, go in and grab some models and practice bringing them up and setting them up, going through and using that tool. Once you get that down and get it to where you can go through all these little menus up here and you can get them models set up the way you want it, the rest of it's, in my opinion anyways, is a piece of cake. Alright, so happy days and enjoy your flying, and I think the update's out, so I'm going to go update Flight Simulator and see what got messed up. Good day.